Meditation is something that we simply just don't think about much in the modern world because we are so consumed with our electronic devices, with things constantly giving us new dopamine feeds. But meditation allows us to balance that, allows us to work against our more base human impulses to become essentially better physically, then mentally, to build towards being better spiritually. If you're around modern meditators, there's a bunch of different versions of it. Transcendental meditation, chanting, all kinds of stuff. One of the ones that I default back to is an idea from Shaolin Kung Fu, which is moving meditation. Two types of meditation: the moving meditation, which is the practice of forms, and seated meditation. Depending on what type of Kung Fu you do, depends on your ratio of which ones you perform. For most people who don't have access to a super hardcore old Yoda-ish Kung Fu teacher, they can practice something like heavy club swinging. Heavy club swinging does a lot of the same things. It unifies structure, breathing, and movement, which is the idea of most traditional forms of martial arts practice. It's not just to become the best fighter, it is to practice a martial art, which is different. Martial arts is a lifelong strategy of self-improvement. Primary way to do that is by making the body better. The way that you make the body better is by unifying structure, breathing, and movement in useful ways. When you swing heavy clubs, in the beginning you suck, and you run a mathematically based program where you focus on the basics and you get good at core human movements. Inside circle, outside circle, shield cast. Then you build into side hip engagement with pendulums and pullovers. Then you combine it with direction changes, alt circles, alt pendulums, alt pullovers. You build towards your mill and your reverse mill. The mill and the reverse mill are core movements that you find in absolutely every type of martial art. And then you learn to endure, which means you get better at aligning your structure for longer periods of time. So you go up in reps. The basic goal that people work on is doing 100 mills left and right, 100 reverse mills left and right, without putting the weight down, 400 reps total. In the beginning, with a light weight, that probably takes you 16 minutes. As you go up in weight, it takes you 20 or 22 minutes. You are developing your structure, your breathing, and your movement with standing. This is the exact same thing that you would work on in Kung Fu. This becomes moving meditation because you have to get better over time, not worse. In order to endure, you have to learn to line up better. You have to learn to breathe better in time with the movement. After that, you start integrating stepping patterns. When you swing a heavy club, your stepping patterns essentially will default to basic human movement patterns. The goal of this is what you might think of as Wu Wei, old Chinese term, very, very old, that means effortless action. Your goal is to learn to exert force and to do a large amount of work without ever feeling like you're doing a large amount of work. So it's kind of different than the way that modern Western training is, which is effortful. The goal of moving meditation is to put in so much effort that it stops feeling like effort. The point of meditation has always been to find a way to quiet our worst impulses and become a better version of ourselves. For many people, heavy club swinging can meet that need. Like all forms of meditation, heavy club swinging is a lifelong path of study. You start at the basics, and then you add the basics together to create something more complex. But the complexity never ends. You can always find new ways to move, new ways to combine your breathing structure. And this quiets the mind and removes that voice in your head full of intrusive thoughts. Take yourself up a practice of heavy club swinging. Start with the basics in a light weight. You're going to balance back and forth forever between going up in weight and adding complexity. And you never have to be done with it. You can continue to get better and learn forever.